Seeing none. We'll move on to wind energy in Castleton. Sam Carlson, Green Light Solar.
Green Lantern.
Sam?
Thank you. Can I sit up there to be closer, or do you want me to stay back here?
Well, I don't care. You can sit up there for the own turn.
To facilitate the discussion. My name is Sam Carlson. I've come before the select board several times in the context of solar net metering, representing Green Lantern Solar. I'm not here representing Green Lantern Solar. I stepped away from Green Lantern Solar about a year ago and am now working for another group, and that's what I'm here to talk to you all about. I did work with the select board. I think we had 3 solar net metering agreements, and I think all the town's electricity accounts are under solar net metering. I hope that's all working well for you. But again, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to discuss a much more controversial renewable energy project. First, I just want to give you,
Is this you, Sam?
that is me. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
That is me. So did everyone get in their packet this one pager? I have extras of those. So just a little bit of information about this proposed project. Grandpa's Knob Community Wind is proposed as a single turbine. This is not the 2012 7 miles of ridge line, 20 wind turbines, new roads, new infrastructure, new power lines, blasting. This is not that. This is a single wind turbine that honors Castleton and Grandpa's Knob as the birthplace of the American wind energy industry. This is where it all started, in 1941. The very first wind energy turbine ever connected into an electricity grid in the world. The gentleman who is the promoter of this, you may or may not know his name, but Dave Blittersdorf, who grew up in Pittsford, who has made his career in wind, and he met as a young boy Palmer Putnam in 1970, 71 or something like that. And growing up in Pittsford, he could see Grandpa's Knob, and it was sort of the origin of his interest in wind energy and that whole story. He wants to honor that legacy by putting up a wind turbine there. Now, just to give a little more information, this project, if it goes forward, is still a long ways off. We are not close to entering a permitting phase. We are engaging with Castleton. I just came from the Hubbardton Select Board. I met with the town managers of West Rutland, Proctor, and Pittsford today, and I'll be meeting with their select boards in October. This project would be part of Vermont's standard offer program, which is its program to support the development of renewable energy in the state of Vermont. The electricity generated would be sold to Green Mountain Power, and the electricity would count towards Green Mountain Power's renewable energy portfolio standards that they have to have. This is not electricity that's getting sold out of state. This is electricity that is sold to Green Mountain Power. Now, physically, you all know when electricity goes into the grid, we're in a New England grid. The electrons go where the electrons go, but the power would be purchased by Green Mountain Power, and it would go to achieving the state's renewable energy objectives. So this is a state award that we expect to be made next month. It has not been made yet. There's no official award. The award is separate from the permitting process. The award is just saying, if you get your project built, this is the rate at which you can sell the electricity to Green Mountain Power for the next 20 years. Now go try to get this thing permitted. We're probably 9 to 12 months away from being ready to go into permitting. And we know that there's a history in Castleton, in Hubbardton, in Pittsford, and Ira, and West Rutland, related to that project back in 2012. We know that there's likely to be opposition to the project. There's a cost. There's a perceived cost to seeing a wind turbine on top of Grandpa's Knob. My objective is to engage in dialogue and negotiation with the 5 surrounding towns, but mainly with the town of Castleton, because this Grandpa's Knob is located in the town of Castleton. It would go up in the town of Castleton. You guys are at the center of that. My job is to try to reach a point where your perception of the benefits of the project exceed the costs. And if you don't, then you're going to say you don't want it. What I'm asking is that you reserve judgment right now as we develop more and more information about the project, and we share that information with you. And I hope, well, Mike knows me well enough that I operate totally transparently. Any question you have, any information you want, is what I will try to get you. I'm trying to do this in real time. On Friday, we produced our first visual simulation of what this would look like. And it's preliminary, and it's only from one viewpoint, but it's a starting point. As we get more visualizations done, we're working with some excellent group, TJ Boyle. As those become available, we're going to be sharing those with the towns. They'll be on a website. People will be able to see exactly what this thing would look like. What I have right now is a simulation of the view from the Hubbardton battlefield. Okay? So the first is basically just situating you. This is right at Hubbardton battlefield. This is the little museum or whatever. And it's looking up to Grandpa's Knob, and it's this triangle. Rectangle. Triangle. And pass that around. This is basically what it would look like. So you all know there's a communications tower up there now, 310-foot communications tower that services TV, cell phones, radio, what have you. There's an existing road, truck-ready road that goes up there now. There are power lines that go up there now. So the great advantage of Grandpa's Knob is that there is existing infrastructure. So in terms of disturbance to ridgeline, this is already a disturbed and developed ridgeline. We're not talking about going anywhere else except Grandpa's Knob. The tower of this is a 1.5 megawatt turbine. The tower, not the blades, but the tower is slightly less than 300 feet high, and that's in your little fact sheet. So, and it would be installed below the knob. So the tower itself will be below the height of the communications tower. There's the sweep of the blades. Those blades sweep 143 feet above that tower.
So that's the radius.
So that's the radius. Right. It's a 285-foot diameter sweep, right? So it's not clear to us, given, and we haven't been able to do all the visualization work yet, if the towns of Pittsford and Proctor and West Rutland, given that it's over the knob and down a little bit, their views of it, they may just be able to see the tips of the blades. They may not be able to see any part of the tower. But there's no question I was driving along West Castleton Road today and along Lake Bomoseen, and that's a pretty clear view up to Grandpa's Knob and the communications tower. I was at Keyhole, I might be mispronouncing that, but the access point right there, and driving along that road, you can see that communications tower. So folks would be able to see this from the lake, and they'd be able to see that along West Castleton Road. So there's a cost to that. Again, the folks behind this project understand that, and they understand that you aren't going to support this unless you perceive that the benefits of the project would exceed those costs of having this visual impact. So what are those benefits likely to be? Could be. So that's a discussion, that's a negotiation, but the starting point is that we would like to put 1/2 of the net annual operating profit of the turbine into a foundation, into a trust, into an escrow account, into some pot that would get divided up amongst the towns who are most impacted by this project. How that division would happen would obviously be a negotiation among the towns, would be a discussion among the towns. How much is one town impacted, what's the population of that town, et cetera, et cetera. Certainly Castleton, because the project is located in Castleton, there are the taxes. Those taxes go to Castleton, that's probably $12,000–13,000 a year. What we're talking about is the net annual operating profit of the turbine, and taking half of that and saying we're going to distribute that to the communities that are impacted by this project. So what is that? I can't tell you right now exactly what that net annual operating profit is going to be, because I don't know what all of our costs are yet. We're projecting out, if we go into permitting, then there's going to be a hearing, then we're into construction. We're probably 18 months to 24 months away from construction. Steel prices going all over the place. Tariff issues, cement prices, all that stuff. Labor costs. I can't tell you exactly what our costs are going to be. I know what the revenue is going to be, because we have a pretty good idea of how much that turbine will generate in terms of electricity, and under the standard offer program, it's 11.6 cents a kilowatt hour. So I multiplied 4 million kilowatt hours a year by 11.6 cents a kilowatt hour, and my gross revenue is somewhere around, I don't know, $440,000 a year. That's my gross, right? Then I've got to pay the bank. I don't have to pay the bank, it's not my money. Right? The LLC has to pay back the bank, got to pay annual maintenance, got to pay taxes, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a very conservative estimate. I think it's a conservative estimate that there'll be $100,000 a year in years 1 through 10 as net profit. After year 10, assuming we have a 10-year loan and the loan is paid off, that doubles. And after year 20, when the standard offer rate expires and we're going into a directly negotiated rate with Green Mountain Power, that rate is likely to go up after 20 years. And so we would guess that, again, we're making a projection of an electricity rate 20 years from now, so there's no certainty as to what that is, but certainly our expectation is that the net profit will probably go up to $300,000 a year. So what I'm talking about, and this is a base case scenario, if we're 100,000 in year 1, then 50,000 is getting distributed among the towns, and that goes for the 10 years. And then after the loan is paid, we're at a $200,000 a year net operating profit, and we're distributing $100,000 amongst the towns. in years 21 to 30. If we're at a $300,000 net operating profit, then that means $150,000 is getting distributed every year amongst the town. Over the course of, and this is over the course of 30 years, that's $3 million.
That would be in that coffer.
That would be in that coffer.
Okay.
That's not $3 million in today's money,
No,
right?
no.
I'm an economist by training, you gotta discount that back to put it in today's dollars. But I'm saying over the course of the 30 years, just based on the net operating profit of this turbine. And our intent would be to be fully transparent about what that net operating profit is. And we need to talk about that. That means having an accounting firm that you trust, that we trust, that looks at the books and says, at the end of fiscal year 2024, the net operating profit was X. And that's determined by an accounting firm that you trust, that we trust. And then we take half of that, and that goes into a fund. So that's from a developer perspective, that's a fairly strong statement that they're not doing this to make money. They're doing this because they want to honor Palmer Putnam, put up Grandpa's Nog turbine in 1941, and this is something that's meaningful to him. He doesn't want to lose money, and he won't do the project if he's going to lose money, right? But he is not, if he wanted to make money, he'd take that turbine and go put it in Iowa or Texas or anywhere else where the guy operates, right? He's doing this because of the history that's here. We would want to emphasize that history. I believe, and this is my personal, that despite the visual cost some people may perceive about having to look at this thing, that this is actually something that Castleton should celebrate, that it is the birthplace of the American wind energy industry. There ought to be a museum, there ought to be a center. We are digitizing all of the historical archives from the early 40s, all of the newspaper articles, all of the photographs, and getting those into museum quality material that could be part of a center. I intend to reach out to Senator Leahy and Senator Sanders and Representative Welch and say there ought to be federal dollars in the historic preservation, that there's no wind energy museum right now. Lubbock, Texas has got something they're trying to do, but this is where it all started. Over the next 70 years, wind energy is likely to become a bigger and bigger part of our reality as wind and solar are going to continue to grow and get developed. And that makes this place even more important over time because this is where it all started. So my goal tonight is not to ask for any endorsement. My goal tonight is to just say, let's open a dialogue over the next 9 to 10 to 12 months before we go into permitting. And before we go into permitting, I'll be feeding you guys more simulations, more cost and projected annual profit information, and you guys are going to make your own judgment. Well, are the potential benefits to this town greater than the cost? And I get there are costs to people having to see a turbine, and I get it especially for folks at the Hubbardson battlefield who were there looking up at it, or people on the lake. Right now, they see a communications tower, and in addition to a communications tower, there would be one single turbine turning around. Some people like them, some people don't like them. We will be also informing your state representatives and senators this week. I know Bob Helm has a certain history in this town. He'll be getting an email along with the other representatives here, and they'll be getting the same fact sheet. And I'll basically be saying, we're reaching out to these towns to talk about this project. So they're informed, and I'll be inviting them to ask any questions that they have and raise the concerns that they have. But our approach in this project is just to be as transparent and upfront with you all as we can be.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you for your time,
Thank
sir.
you for the introduction. Any questions quickly for Sam?
I do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Yep.
The location, you have the physical location where this thing is gonna go? You have it right down to where the pad is gonna be poured?
Right
Or is-
now,
or is it-
that's what we're guessing.
That spot right there?
That spot right there.
Do you guys know who owns that land?
Yeah,
Is it state-owned or?
no,
It's a personal?
yep,
Personal.
I have the,
I don't need the name, I just,
No, it's private, it's a private landowner, it's about a 500 acre parcel, might even be a 700 acre parcel, 726 acre parcel. It's the Free Seat Trust.
Yep.
And there's
Okay.
a couple sisters up in Burlington who are part of it, but so we have site control now, we have a land lease,
okay,
with them,
sure,
so it's on private land.
okay. Is it anywhere near the original? Do you know?
I don't know, I will know after Sunday, because on Sunday I'm going up there.
Okay,
I think that, and this is my guess is that the original one is very close to the communications tower,
okay,
because it's probably right on the knob.
okay,
And what is being proposed here is to put the turbine, and it's about 1,000 feet away from the communications tower. And just, lots of folks wonder, well, what happens with a turbine and communications? And these are fiberglass blades, and fiberglass doesn't interrupt radio frequency at all, so it just goes through. You see radio towers often have a fiberglass shell over the critical pieces, because fiberglass doesn't interrupt the communications at all.
Okay, any other questions for him?
I got one more. What is the longevity of this windmill? I mean,
Yep, so it's a minimum expectation of 20 years.
20 years.
The standard offer award from the state is for 20 years,
okay,
right? These typically have a life of 30 years.
okay,
I would expect after 20 years that we would replace the blades with newer, better, faster, higher technology blades that'll probably get developed over the next 20 years. And so our hope is that it's a 30-year lifetime,
okay.
but minimum 20.
Dick?
Just one question, Bob got one for me. No, that's good. Is how much disturbance will there be up there during construction?
Yep. So the advantage is we're working with a road that already exists.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Clearing has already been done, right? I mean, it's already a knob that there is a minimal amount of tree clearing that would need to be done. I don't know, and I need to find out, I don't know if there's going to be blasting. I don't know. I don't know in the engineering, but I can find that out and let you know in terms of disturbance. The power lines are already in. We would have to, it's a two-phase power line right now that goes up there. The poles and the cross trees are all in good shape. We have to string, it's a three-phase. For us to connect, we need a three-phase. So we have to string a third line, but using all existing poles and cross trees.
No, so it can only be single phase. There's no such thing as two-phase power.
That was a surprise to me when someone told me it's
Well,
two-phase.
let me rephrase that. Two-phase is not something I'm familiar with.
Me neither. I've only heard of single and three-phase. I was told it's two, and maybe because it's the communication stuff, I don't know.
Okay, anything else, Dick?
No.
No, Mike? No, I'm all set. Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I'm sure we're going to hear from you.
Yep, so I'm sure that, when this all becomes more public, there'll be more controversy, more questions.
Sure.
I'd like to leave some cards with Mike, so people who come in and want to know how to get in touch with me.
Yep.
Perfect.
Good.
Call me, send me emails, and my hope would be to come back. I'll won't bother you over the holidays, but probably in January with an update. This is where we're at. Here we are in terms of visualizations. Here were the conversations that we had with the other towns. Just to update you on the status.
Okay,
All right?
thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you,
your time.
Sam.
Okay, let's move on. I believe the next one we've already covered, Mike.
Yes.